solitude is not merely the state of being alone, it is a forge. The fire of isolation can either temper your strength, resilience, and clarity, or it can consume you, leaving you weaker and more dispersed. The difference lies not in circumstance, but in the conscious choices you make each day. Without a clear intention, it's easy to fall into silent, corrosive patterns that erode your focus, drain your energy, and distance you from the person you are capable of becoming. These mistakes are quiet. They don't announce themselves with drama, but with a slow, steady whisper that reshapes your reality. Guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy not of passive endurance, but of active mastery, we will explore 12 common pitfalls men face in solitude. The goal isn't just to identify errors, it's to provide a blueprint for transforming your alone time from a source of anxiety into a sanctuary of power, clarity, and unshakable resilience. Master these, and solitude becomes the training ground where your strongest self is built, piece by deliberate piece. 1. Mistaking loneliness for a vacuum. The pitfall explained. The quiet of an empty space can feel like an emptiness within. This perceived void creates a psychological itch, a craving for external stimulus to confirm our existence and value. The modern world offers endless anesthetics for this feeling: the dopamine drip of social media notifications, the buzz of a dating app match, the background noise of a streaming service, or the pursuit of shallow conversations that exist only to silence the fear of being with oneself. Every time you succumb to this, you outsource your sense of completeness. You teach your brain that internal peace is impossible without external input, creating a dependency that weakens your core self. The Stoic shift: reframing the silence. The Stoics, like Epictetus, argued that our peace depends not on controlling external events, but on mastering our internal judgments. He famously said, "Learn to wish that everything should happen as it does." In this context, it means accepting the silence not as a punishment or a lack, but as a condition, a neutral space that you have the power to define. Actionable steps. Scheduled silence: start small. Commit to 10 to 15 minutes each day with no media, no music, no distractions. Sit with the silence. Observe the urge to reach for your phone and consciously resist it. Interrogate the craving: when you feel the pull to seek validation online, ask yourself, what am I trying to avoid feeling right now? Boredom? Anxiety? Inadequacy? Naming the emotion robs it of its power. Replace consumption with creation. Instead of scrolling when lonely, use that time for a tangible, creative act. Write a paragraph in a journal, sketch an idea, work on a project, or even clean your space. This shifts you from a passive consumer to an active creator, building internal satisfaction. The outcome: by consistently choosing to fill the silence with purposeful action or simple acceptance, you build what the Stoics called autarkia, self-sufficiency. You discover that you are enough. The void ceases to be terrifying and becomes fertile ground. 2. Letting discipline slip. The pitfall explained. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. In solitude, with no boss, team, or family imposing structure, that bridge must be built and maintained by you alone. The temptation to drift is overwhelming. Hitting snooze becomes easier, work hours blur into leisure, and days blend into a formless haze. This isn't freedom, it's entropy. Without the external pressure of accountability, your internal standards are all you have. When they slip, chaos quietly takes root. The Stoic shift: discipline as the architecture of liberty. Seneca wrote, "Discipline is the mother of success." The Stoics viewed discipline not as a restrictive cage, but as the very framework that makes freedom possible. A ship without a rudder is free to go wherever the wind takes it, but it is a slave to the currents. A ship with a rudder is truly free to choose its destination. Your discipline is your rudder. Actionable steps. The non-negotiable morning ritual: design a 1-hour morning routine that you adhere to without exception. This could include hydration, movement, stretching, a walk, a workout, meditation, and reading. This sets a tone of command for the entire day. Time blocking, treat your day like a CEO's schedule. Block out specific, finite times for deep work, administration, meals, and leisure. Use a timer. When the block is over, stop. This creates containment and prevents drift. The evening review, a practice from Marcus Aurelius. Before bed, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day. Where did you keep your discipline? Where did you let it slide? No self-flagellation, just factual observation to improve tomorrow. The outcome, discipline transforms solitude from a passive state into an active workshop. Empty hours become sacred opportunities for building skills, health, and wealth. You move from being a passenger in your life to the pilot. 3. Running from quiet. The pitfall explained. We live in a world that equates silence with awkwardness or emptiness. We fear it because it's a mirror, reflecting back our unfiltered thoughts, anxieties, and unresolved issues. To avoid this confrontation, we create a perpetual soundtrack to our lives. But this constant noise is a shield that prevents self-knowledge. A man who cannot endure silence is a man who does not know himself, and a man who does not know himself is easily manipulated by external influences. The Stoic shift, embracing quiet as a teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not in forums filled with applause, but in the silent tents on military campaigns. He used the stillness to organize his chaos, to converse with his own soul, and to fortify his character. Silence, for the Stoic, is the gymnasium for the mind. Actionable steps. Mindful mundane tasks, perform a daily chore, washing dishes, taking a shower, walking, in complete silence. Focus entirely on the sensations, the temperature of the water, the feeling of your feet on the ground. This trains focus and presence. Stoic meditation, instead of trying to empty your mind, practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. In your quiet time, calmly visualize potential challenges you might face. This isn't worry, it's a rehearsal. By facing difficulties in your mind first, you rob them of their power in reality. Digital sunset, implement a hard stop time for all screens at least 1 hour before bed. Replace this time with reading physical books or journaling. This allows your mind to transition from noise to quiet, improving sleep and mental clarity. The outcome, you develop a comfort with your own company that becomes a source of profound strength. You learn to process emotions and thoughts effectively, leading to greater emotional stability and decisiveness. Silence stops being your enemy and becomes your most trusted counselor. 4. Neglecting your physical foundation. The pitfall explained. The ancient ideal of mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body, is a physiological truth. When you live alone, it's easy to let physical self-care slide. There's no one to notice if you eat junk food, skip workouts, or keep erratic sleep hours. But this neglect has direct, debilitating consequences for your mind. Poor nutrition leads to brain fog. Lack of exercise reduces energy and increases anxiety. Insufficient sleep cripples willpower and cognitive function. You cannot think like a king if you feel like a prisoner in a deteriorating body. The Stoic shift, the body as your primary instrument. The Stoics believed virtue was the highest good, but they understood that virtue is exercised through the body. Seneca stated, "No man is sound of soul without sound of body." Caring for your physique is not vanity, it is practical philosophy. It is the maintenance of the tool you use to execute your will in the world. Actionable steps. Move with purpose, you don't need a fancy gym. Commit to a daily minimum of movement. This could be a 30-minute walk, a bodyweight circuit, push-ups, squats, planks, or yoga. Consistency trumps intensity. Fuel for function, approach eating not as a source of pleasure alone, but as fuel. Ask, will this meal help me perform better or worse? Prioritize whole foods, proteins, vegetables, healthy fats, that provide sustained energy. Protect your sleep, treat sleep as a non-negotiable recovery session. Create a dark, cool, and quiet environment. Aim for 7 to 8 hours. This is when your body and mind repair themselves, solidifying learning and restoring willpower for the next day. The outcome: a well-maintained body provides the energy, clarity, and resilience needed to pursue your goals. Physical discipline reinforces mental discipline, creating a positive feedback loop of strength and self-respect. 5. Being held hostage by the past. The pitfall explained. Solitude can become a theater where you endlessly replay the greatest hits of your failures, betrayals, and humiliations. You ruminate on what you should have said or done, feeding narratives of resentment and regret. This is not productive reflection, it's psychological self-harm. It chains your present energy and future potential to events that are gone and cannot be changed. You become a ghost haunting your own life. The Stoic shift: the past as a lesson, not a life sentence. Epictetus, born a slave, had every reason to be bitter. Yet he taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic practice is to accept the past amor fati, love of fate, to see every event, especially the difficult ones, as necessary for your development. The event itself is neutral, the meaning you assign it is your choice. Actionable steps. The journaling reframe: write down a past event that haunts you. Then, deliberately reframe it. Ask, what did this teach me? How did it make me stronger? What skill did I develop because of it? For example, a betrayal taught you discernment in relationships. The ritual of release: write the resentment or regret on a piece of paper and safely burn it. This physical act symbolizes your conscious decision to release the emotional charge and reclaim your present moment power. Focus on the sphere of control: remind yourself daily of the Stoic dichotomy of control: you cannot control what happened, but you have 100% control over your current attitude and actions. Redirect your energy from what you can't change to what you can. The outcome: you free up immense mental and emotional resources previously wasted on the past. You become lighter, more present, and able to engage with new opportunities without the baggage of old wounds. You stop being a victim of your history and become the author of your future. 6. Outsourcing your self-worth. The pitfall explained. The pitfall explained. The hunger for external validation is a deep-seated trap. We post content online and feel a temporary high from likes, we receive a compliment and our mood soars, we get criticized and it ruins our day. This conditions your self-esteem to be a roller coaster controlled by the unpredictable opinions of others. You hand over the keys to your identity, making you a slave to public opinion. This is the antithesis of freedom. The Stoic shift: anchoring worth in internal virtue. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, constantly reminded himself not to care about the applause of the mob. He wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." The Stoic goal is to shift your source of validation inward. Your worth is determined by your character, your courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom, not by external metrics. Actionable steps. Define your own scoreboard. Write down 3 to 5 core values that are important to you, e.g., honesty, resilience, generosity. At the end of each day, judge your success based only on whether you lived up to these values, regardless of external outcomes. Practice anti-validation: deliberately do something worthwhile that no one will ever see. Clean your apartment meticulously for your own satisfaction. Learn a difficult skill in private. This strengthens the muscle of intrinsic motivation. Detox from the feedback loop: take a scheduled break from social media or any platform where you find yourself seeking approval. A week or a month without this noise will recalibrate your internal compass. The outcome: you develop an unshakable inner citadel. Praise and criticism become equally irrelevant because your sense of self is rooted in something stable and within your control. You become immune to the fickle opinions of the crowd, operating from a place of authentic confidence. 7. Choosing comfort over growth. The pitfall explained. The path of least resistance is seductive because it's evolutionarily ingrained. Conserving energy feels safe. But in the modern world, this instinct sabotages us. It's easier to order fast food than cook a healthy meal, to watch TV than read a book, to procrastinate than to start a difficult project. Each choice for comfort over what is right or necessary is a vote for a smaller, weaker version of yourself. Comfort is the slow poison of unrealized potential. The Stoic shift, embracing voluntary hardship. The Stoics practiced asceticism, not as self-punishment, but as training. They would periodically embrace discomfort, cold showers, simple food, fasting, to remind themselves that they could thrive without luxury. This built resilience and gratitude. They understood that growth and comfort cannot coexist. Actionable steps. Introduce voluntary discomfort. Each day, do one thing that is slightly uncomfortable but beneficial. Take a cold shower. Walk in the rain. Read a challenging book instead of watching easy entertainment. The one thing principle: when you feel the urge to avoid a difficult task, commit to doing just the first 5 minutes. Often, starting is the biggest hurdle. The momentum from taking that first step makes continuation easier. Reframe the struggle. When facing a challenge, consciously say to yourself, "This is not an obstacle to my success, it is the path to my success." This discomfort is the feeling of growth. The outcome: you rewire your brain to associate discomfort with progress. You become resilient, adaptable, and capable of handling life's inevitable hardships with grace. You stop avoiding difficulty and start seeking it out as the forge of character. 8. Isolating yourself from all influence. The pitfall explained. There is a critical difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is a chosen state for reflection and growth. Isolation is a defensive withdrawal from the world, often born from fear, betrayal, or apathy. Cutting yourself off from all human connection leads to a stagnant mind. Your thoughts echo in a chamber without challenge or new input, leading to distorted perspectives and a loss of vitality. Humans are social creatures, and even the most introverted need quality connection. The Stoic shift, curating a quality circle. Marcus Aurelius emphasized, "We are made for cooperation." The Stoics were not hermits, they were engaged in society. The key is discernment. It's about moving from a large circle of shallow, draining acquaintances to a small circle of deep, empowering connections. Actionable steps. Audit your circle. Honestly assess the people you spend time with, in person or digitally. Do they energize you or drain you? Do they challenge you to be better or encourage complacency? Gradually minimize time with the latter. Seek mentors and peers, not just followers. Actively look for communities, online or offline, related to your interests and values. Seek out people who are a few steps ahead of you on the path you want to walk. Quality over quantity. 1 or 2 meaningful conversations per week with the right person is far more valuable than daily interactions with dozens of people who don't share your aspirations. The outcome: you create a support system that provides perspective, encouragement, and accountability. Your solitude remains productive because it's balanced with meaningful exchange, preventing you from becoming myopic or losing touch with reality. 9. Drifting without a compass. The pitfall explained. Solitude without purpose is a ship adrift at sea. You might be busy, working, scrolling, running errands, but without a clear destination, this activity is just motion, not progress. This leads to a deep sense of meaninglessness, where days blend into a fog of routine. A man without a purpose is reactive, waiting for life to happen to him. He is easily swayed by distractions because nothing internally is pulling him forward. The Stoic shift, purpose as your guiding star. Seneca nailed it: if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. Your purpose is your port. It doesn't have to be grandiose, solve world hunger, it can be immediate and personal: become the best version of myself, master my craft, build a stable and secure life for my future family. What matters is that it provides direction. Actionable steps. Define your why, write a personal mission statement. Answer: what is truly important to me? What do I want to stand for? What legacy do I want my daily actions to create? Revisit this regularly. Set micro goals, break your purpose down into actionable, daily or weekly goals. If your purpose is to master my craft, a micro goal is spend 90 minutes in deep practice today. This makes purpose tangible. The morning alignment, each morning, ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that aligns with my core purpose? This ensures your daily energy is directed meaningfully. The outcome, your solitude becomes focused and intentional. Every action, from your morning routine to how you spend your evening, gains significance. You move from drifting to navigating, with a clear compass guiding you through both calm and stormy seas. 10. Letting pride stunt your growth. The pitfall explained. Pride is the armor of the insecure. It's the voice that says, I already know that, or I don't need help. It prevents you from asking questions, admitting mistakes, or accepting feedback. While it may project a facade of confidence, internally it creates a rigid, brittle identity that is incapable of adaptation. In a world that is constantly changing, the unwillingness to learn is a guarantee of obsolescence. The Stoic shift, cultivating the student mindset. The greatest Stoics, despite their wisdom, considered themselves lifelong students. Socrates declared that true wisdom is knowing how little you know. Humility is not self-deprecation, it is a realistic assessment of your own limitations and a courageous openness to new information. It is the soil in which growth occurs. Actionable steps. Seek critical feedback, actively ask people you trust, what is one thing I could improve? Listen without getting defensive. Thank them for their honesty. Learn from everyone, adopt the mindset that you can learn something from every person you meet, regardless of their status. A janitor can teach you about diligence, a child can teach you about curiosity. Admit mistakes publicly, when you mess up, say so. I was wrong about that, or I handled that poorly. This is incredibly liberating and shatters the prison of pride. The outcome, you become flexible, adaptable, and infinitely capable of growth. You stop seeing feedback as a threat and start seeing it as a gift. Your identity is no longer tied to being right, but to being better, which is a far more powerful and resilient position. 11. Being ruled by your emotions. The pitfall explained. Emotions are data, not directives. In solitude, without the moderating influence of others, emotions can amplify. A spark of anger can become a raging fire, a moment of sadness can spiral into despair. The pitfall is surrendering to this emotional tide, letting it dictate your words, actions, and outlook. An emotionally reactive man is a puppet, and his strings are pulled by whatever he happens to be feeling in the moment. The Stoic shift, becoming the observer of your inner world. Epictetus provided the key, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The Stoic practice is to insert a moment of pause between the trigger, the event, and your response, your action. In that pause, you observe the emotion, analyze the judgment that caused it, and then choose a rational response. Actionable steps. Name and tame, when a strong emotion arises, label it. Say to yourself, this is anger, or this is anxiety. This simple act of naming creates distance, allowing you to observe the emotion rather than be consumed by it. Journal the judgment, ask, what story am I telling myself about this event that is causing this emotion? Often, it's an irrational or exaggerated belief. Writing it down exposes its weakness. Practice proportional response. Before reacting, ask, what is a rational and effective response to this situation, separate from how I feel? Then act based on that reasoning. The outcome, you achieve emotional mastery. You are no longer a victim of your moods. You can feel anger without being destructive, feel fear without being paralyzed, and feel sadness without being defeated. This emotional resilience is the bedrock of true strength. 12. Quitting at the first difficulty. The pitfall explained. We are hardwired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. When a goal becomes difficult, uncomfortable, or frustrating, the primitive brain signals retreat. Quitting feels like relief. But this instinct, followed blindly, ensures that you will never achieve anything of significance. Every meaningful pursuit, building a business, mastering a skill, forging a strong body, is paved with obstacles. Mistaking obstacles for stop signs is the most common dream killer. The Stoic shift, the obstacle is the way. This famous Stoic phrase, popularized by Ryan Holiday, encapsulates the philosophy. The obstacle is not a barrier blocking your path, it is the path. The challenge itself is the training that forges the strength, creativity, and perseverance needed to achieve your goal. The struggle is not an interruption of the process, it is the essence of the process. Actionable steps. Premeditation of obstacles. Before starting any important endeavor, write down all the things that could go wrong. This mental inoculation prepares you for setbacks, so when they arrive, they feel like expected part of the journey, not catastrophic failures. Focus on the next action. When faced with a massive obstacle, don't look at the whole mountain. Ask, what is the very next, tiny step I can take? Action, no matter how small, breaks the paralysis of overwhelm. Reframe failure, see quitting as the only true failure. Persisting through difficulty, even if you don't achieve the original goal, is a success because it builds unbeatable character. You learn more from one failure you endured than from 10 easy successes. The outcome, you develop grit. You welcome challenges as opportunities to test and improve your mettle. You understand that the journey toward any worthy goal is inherently difficult, and that difficulty is the price of admission for a life of achievement and self-respect. The foundational shift, rewriting your mental story. Underlying all these pitfalls is one core, meta-mistake, believing a disempowering story about yourself. This is the silent script running in the background of your mind. I'm not disciplined, I'm a quitter, I'm not good with people, I'll always be this way. This story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Stoic shift, you are the author. The most profound Stoic teaching is that you have power over your mind. You are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. And as the observer, you have the power to edit the narrative. Marcus Aurelius constantly wrote down new, better stories to counter his negative impulses. You must do the same. Actionable steps. Catch the script, pay attention to your self-talk. When you hear a disempowering thought, literally say, stop. That is just a story I am telling myself. Write a new story, create a brief, empowering personal mantra that contradicts the old script. If the story is, I'm lazy, the new story is, I am a man of action who follows through on his commitments. Repeat this daily. Collect evidence. At the end of each day, journal about one thing you did that proves your new story is true. This builds a case against the old, false identity. The outcome, you realize that your identity is not fixed. You can shed the skin of the old self and consciously craft a new one. This is the ultimate freedom, the power to define who you are and who you will become. Conclusion, the choice in the silence. Loneliness does not destroy you. It exposes you. It strips away the illusions, the noise, and the masks, and leaves only the truth of who you are. In that silence, you discover whether you are a prisoner of your habits or a master of yourself. These 12 mistakes are the chains that hold men back. But Stoicism offers the key. It is a philosophy of warriors, a discipline that teaches you not to escape solitude, but to conquer it. If you avoid these mistakes and embrace these lessons, your solitude will cease to be a curse. It will become the battlefield where your strongest self is forged, the crucible where your doubts burn away, and your character emerges indestructible. The path is brutal, but it is real. The decision is yours. Choose to be the rare man who looks solitude in the eye and turns it into his greatest advantage. The world does not need